Hi Malaka.
Hi Harley.
Hi everyone listening.
Hi guys.
Welcome back to Sonder Salt, the weekly food podcast about the magic of eating. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Finally recovered from Lisbon, Portugal. Had the holiday blues for a little bit. It's been a hard road, but I'm back. We're here.
And we have a whole episode, which was last week's episode, all about where to eat in Lisbon.
Yeah.
If you want the Malaka
Me
experience.
banging on about all the food that I ate. My little Lisboeta food, baby.
You never said on that episode what the Lisboeta...
So the word Lisboeta basically means somebody from Lisbon that embodies the spirit and the culture and all those kinds of things. So my little Lisboeta food, baby.
I understand now.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, we're back. Mm-hmm. We're here. And we're actually in a different location. So if you are catching clips of this on Insta or if you're watching this on YouTube, then you will see we are somewhere where we are usually not.
Mm-hmm. We are the hood, baby.
We are on location, essentially. Yeah. This episode is the first of a 3-part mini-series that we have put together for you guys, all about taste and flavour. Yeah. We recognise our limitations of what we know, and we have invited some guests down for the next couple of episodes. You really rocked with the fact that we had the Kitchenese from the first episode of season 3, so we're giving people what they want.
They're tired of us.
They're tired of us.
No, they want to hear other voices.
And other perspectives.
Yeah.
Today is going to be just us though.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be laying the foundations. This episode is going to be all about taste and flavour. Mainly flavour, but the distinction between the two, until we did all this research for this episode, I didn't know how much there was. Yeah. Like to differentiate and to explain. So today we're going to lay the groundwork for what flavour is. And then next week's episode, we're going to be talking about one of the top, number one, potentially.
Probably the number
one
more
flavour
than
enhancer.
We realise.
Yeah, no more flavour enhancer. And that's all we're going to say about that for now. You guys will see that when it comes
Whatever you think that is. What do you think that is?
Yeah, what do you think that is?
Do you think that is?
It'll pop up in this episode, but next week's episode is a deep dive into that. And in our third episode, we will be talking to somebody who has lost one of their senses. And as we'll cover today, all of the senses are crucial for having a very full experience of flavour. So yeah, I hope you guys are looking forward to this. We've been looking forward to actually getting this done. It's taking a lot of research, a lot of moving parts. So this conversation has not just come out of thin air. We feel like we've touched on a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. Yeah. But why have we decided to do this episode today and this little mini-series in this way?
So we'll take it back a little bit. Season 2, episode 17, Eat Your Feelings. We did a whole episode about foods that we like to eat that are connected to the different emotions that we experience. And in that, we kind of understood that some of these foods that we love or don't love or enjoy are very much connected to our memories and our emotions. Yep. So we kind of sparked a few little firecrackers in our brain, and we kind of thought, okay, that's interesting.
And before that, in our very first episode where we discussed whether or not we eat to live or live to eat.
That is season 1, episode 1.
That was fresh out the gates. And we just discussed, that we have different relationships with food at different times and why, and when you do care about what it tastes like, when you just grab and go and when you don't.
Then Harley got sick. And to be honest, when we took the time off, we kind of thought, what do we actually want to talk about? What kind of topics would be interesting to explore? And we probably saw something somewhere and realised, there's a difference between taste and flavour. Yeah. What does that even mean? Yeah. And we're like, did we even actually understand that? And in understanding that, it kind of opened our minds up to explore why do we enjoy the things that we enjoy. And sometimes it's not because of how it tastes. Yes. It's because of the flavour. Yes. And we fell into a rabbit hole trying to even understand, what does that mean? Yeah. Why can I enjoy the taste of something but not the flavour, not fully like experience it in a positive way? And that's how we got here today. Yeah, and me being sick we'll come on to in a little bit, but as you can kind of tell, I'm still a bit nasally. Yeah, I've been getting sick, so this feels like not something new to listeners' ears. I think they're used to the sound of this tone of my voice now. I got sick very recently once we did the research for this, and I was like, oh, so because I can't smell, I'm not getting this, and because I can't taste, I'm not getting this and I'm not getting that. So very interesting route to how you realize what you don't know. Like sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And I think to your point about living to eat versus eating to live, because we are people that eat, we live to eat. We live to eat. A lot of that is an experiential
Yes.
thing, and it's not just about does it taste good, yes or no.
Yes.
There's a whole host of things that go into our dining, eating experience that can make it okay or can make it amazing or exceptional. And all of that ultimately is rooted in flavor, which is more than just how something hits your tongue and how it tastes.
So what is it?
Right.
What is flavor?
So yeah, we kind of going through all the information, we were like, you know what, the bigger question here is what is flavor? To really dive deep, I had to go to the library. You guys know I've got like 50 million books at home, and we touched on The Flavor Equation by Nick Sharma, The Science of Great Cooking Explained with more than 100 essential recipes, and it is basically a cookbook and theory book all in one that talks about how to create great flavors, what is flavor, and how you can create it at home.
And Nick Sharma is, I think, a food biologist or a microbiologist.
Yeah,
and also,
food biologist turned cookbook author.
Yeah,
chef,
2 times James Beard award-winning writer.
So really good book. Would highly recommend.
Yes.
It is filled with scientific information, infographics, pictographics, whatever you call them. Really amazing.
But the very cover is the title Flavor Equation tells you basically a list of things, components that make up flavor. And the first one that we're getting into today
is taste. Yeah.
So this is the part that initially stumped me. I was stumped from the get-go because I'm familiar with knowing how things taste. We had a whole episode on salt, and we've spoken about like how we add salt, people who don't like salt, things being salty, things being sour, things being bitter. And those are some of the like recognized taste profiles. So they are sour, bitter, salty, sweet, umami, and heat. Yeah. And there's one other one which I think is like not as widely recognized, which is oleogustus.
That's how I would pronounce it.
Oleogustus?
Yeah, oleogustus.
Which is basically fat.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's familiar with those terms, and that's often how we would describe what we're eating. Like, oh, it's really salty. Oh, it's a bit bitter. Oh, it's sour. Oh, it's this or it's that. Yeah. The umami one is the one that threw me the most. Yeah. Because I thought umami, I didn't understand umami. I didn't understand it. We had a back
and forth in Costa.
Oh my God, we were going back and forth. I was like, what do you mean? Where does it come from? Yeah. Because all I've heard about umami is like, oh, McDonald's is full of it. Yeah. And
why do you love the food? You love the food because of the umami.
Yeah. So in my head, it came out of a shaker.
Okay.
Like it was a thing that you added, and that's what it tasted like. Yeah. The same way, because sweet is a flavor that is brought out by sugar. Salt is a flavor that's brought out by salt. But then once we unpacked my lack of knowledge and understood that, well, that's not true, Holly, because you acknowledge that cheese tastes salty without salt. Exactly. And halloumi
these are cinnamon present.
Yeah, and cinnamon tastes sweet without sugar. Yeah. I was like, oh, I get it. We'll come back to that in a second. But the oleogustus one is the profile of fat. But let's just start from the top. Let's just start from different types of taste and throw in your firecracker about them.
In the book, basically, what we learned is that these flavors present like pleasurable experiences, but there's also food is rooted in science ultimately. Yeah. So these things that we experience are also physiological evolutions of ways that our body engages with us to alert us to things that we are experiencing just as human beings. So if we start from the top, we'll say like sour. When we experience sour taste, that is to protect us from toxins and harmful foods. So naturally, things that taste sour probably are not good for us.
That good for you.
Yeah, that's naturally occurring things. That doesn't mean that we can't experience sour taste and love it, like Sour Patches. I love Sour Patches. But if something has gone sour, it's probably gone bad. Bitter, that again protects us from toxins and harmful foods. Salty, that is important for our nervous system function. Salt-free diets and all that kind of stuff, people talk about it all the time, but salt is something that your body needs. In moderation, of course, we spoke about it in Salt and the Curse of All-Purpose Seasoning in season 1. But ultimately, your body actually needs salt in order to survive, in order to regulate your nervous system. So if you are craving something salty, there's probably something going on internally. You're probably dehydrated or something. And that's
Which was me the other day.
Yeah. Especially when you're sick, you tend to want really salty things. Sweet, that provides energy and nutrition. And as women, we spoke in our Eat Your Feelings episode about when it's coming up to that time of the month and auntie's knocking on the door, we crave sweet things. And it's not just because we're out of control and we just want to have all the bad stuff. Our bodies need the energy because our blood sugar levels are quite low.
and our bodies are going to work.
Experiencing things. And we need that energy, and that's why we crave sweet things. Umami provides energy and nutrition by motivating protein intake.
And umami is the one I did a deep dive on because I didn't understand it. So umami was discovered in 1907, but it took 80 years for the West to accept it as a flavor profile. I think that was just like politically, historically, the West and Japan through wars were not exactly boys. Discovered by a professor in Tokyo, he was experiencing different taste profiles, and knew that there's something going on in his mouth that was not sour, sweet, whatever. And he knew that it was coming from dashi. And dashi is essentially like a fish stock. And he boiled that down, and this is a scientist, so this is not something that everyday person can do to find out what their food tastes like. But basically eliminated the scientific profiles that he knew were salt, that he knew were sugar, that he knew were acid, and what was left was a compound called monosodium glutamate, known on the streets as MSG. Okay, known on the streets as MSG. And MSG is amino acids, like it's a compound, but it's amino acids, and that they make up the protein that is umami, like the flavor of umami. So what I can understand with the whole McDonald's analogy is where does it come from? How can it come in a shaker, or does it come in a shaker? And it can, because it's a compound, like you can synthesize it.
But you can, by synthesizing it, you are producing MSG.
Yeah, you are producing MSG, but you can also just extract it from things that are in the diet. Things like seaweed, things like mushrooms. But yeah, that was really interesting. So if you've ever tasted mushrooms, or I think mushrooms can be quite tomato paste, but I think the foods that contain umami and that you can extract umami from are often quite polarizing. Like, people don't like mushrooms. Yeah. People do like mushrooms.
What's that one? Marmite.
Marmite, yeast. The yeast in it is like the concentration of the potency of it. It's so savory in your mouth. Yeah. That's what it is. It's that taste of savoriness. And I think all the foods in the umami kind of group are super polarizing. Yeah. And like now I understand that's kind of why it's so intense. Yeah. So,
but it's how you utilize them in your cooking. I think once you understand, you can't really break science away from food. It's really important to engage with science as much as possible to really understand food, because something like Marmite spread on a piece of toast, that just might be too much for you. Yeah. But a teaspoon of Marmite in some of your cooking.
Gusto send it a lot.
They send it a lot for like shepherd's pie. Yeah. And you can't taste the Marmite, but you can taste the richness of like the beef and the whole savoury dish when you add it in.
There's loads of the Gusto sauces, and they send the little perfect portion. The little Gusto perfect portion. So cute. But I remember thinking to myself, with the Gusto, and kind of off track here, but I pushed myself to cook how they tell you to cook. Mm-hmm. And because I would have been like, oh, Marmite, not putting that in. Yeah. Like, not putting that in. When really, like, that's giving the umami, that's the depth of savouriness that it requires.
I've noticed when I watch food shows, there's a lot of people that like really are deep in this food thing. They like to taste ingredients alone on their own to really understand what it is that it's giving to the food. And on its own, it's like, wow, that's crazy, that this and that, whatever. But they know that I only need a crumb of this this to bring it up. And so it's not something I can always do, because sometimes I get overwhelmed, but I try as much as possible to taste things on their own as an individual to really understand it, so that I know how to utilise it in my cooking. And umami, MSG, all those types of things is a really good way to
good intro. So the other two that are non-accepted tastes there, olio gustus, or however it's pronounced, to me, and we didn't do a lot of research into this because they're not really the backbone of this, but I think olio gustus is the taste profile that makes the keto diet work. Things that are high in fat are delicious. Like avocados are that fattiness. Olive oil is delicious. Cured meat is delicious. Yeah. Like, and I think it's that element of why.
Yeah, it's what it says here: richness.
It's that richness. Gives, So I guess there might even be some umami foods, or the kind of foods I've just been talking about, which are both rich in this fat profile, rich and savory at the same time. Yeah. That's interesting. And then heat is the other one, right? Spiciness.
Chemothesis. It's not necessarily a taste. It says part of it might be our desire to seek thrills. Chilies can taste hot, but we know we're not in any real danger when we eat them, unless you're having that like ghost chili,
Carolina Reaper.
Yeah, you know that YouTube channel where they're tasting all the hot sauces, hot chicken wings.
Hot ones, I love hot ones. Yeah.
That Idris Elba meme still gets me.
No, the Idris Elba one,
Yeah.
I like Paul Rudd. Hey, look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us. Who would have thought it? Not me.
Yeah, I love that show.
I love Hot Ones.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because I remember there was an episode, I think, in my Guilty Pleasures where I said that, like, I like hot and spicy food.
Yeah.
The intensity of the heat itself.
You want to
to
blow
me,
your head off.
Well, not all the time, but my guilty pleasure was that sometimes I crave food that hurts.
Yeah, you did say
Like,
that.
and that's a taste thing to me. That is an element of taste.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Thank
Can't
you.
say I agree, but my stomach doesn't agree.
How we experience all these things, as you've said, is scientific.
Yeah.
Our tongues, our mouths are made up of nerves, receptors. Like, we wrote down so many types of receptors, but honestly, we won't bore you with all of them. And we're going to talk about receptors a bit in a little while. But on the tongue, the throat, the gut, and the lungs, you're experiencing taste like that entire route.
Yeah.
From when you put it in your mouth until basically the acid it hits the acid in your actual stomach. You're still tasting it. That's why you can like breathe in chili.
Yeah.
You don't have to like people cough or sneeze at black pepper.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like you are still experiencing the taste of that thing.
It's a bit TMI, but it makes sense because sometimes when you overeaten and you belch a little bit, you can taste
back your food. 100%.
Yeah, you can taste it because it's not food that is hitting your tongue. It's as it's coming up through your throat and to the back of your mouth.
Correct.
Yeah.
And super tasters, which I've found incredible. I think I watched a documentary about like the Cadbury factory years and years and years ago, and they're like head chocolate taster woman, super taster. I think her tongue is insured, her mouth is insured for like £1 million or something, and she gets like $100,000 a year. Like it's serious sitting. But since we did the research, we realized that actually these people are better than us.
Superhumans.
They are actually.
Yeah, they're superhumans. And there's a way that you can check if you are a superhuman in the book. It says here, put a drop of food safe blue dye on your tongue. A super taster's tongue will have very few blue coloured patches because the surface is very bumpy, covered by a larger number of papillae and taste buds. So you can check if you're a super taster. If you're a super taster,
you should run that check.
You know what I mean? You might be able to quit your job.
We need to do that test.
If I'm a super taster, it's over.
You'll be intolerable.
Oh, facts.
So next up on the flavour equation is
mouthfeel.
Mouthfeel.
Or touch. I think you made a really good point about these different senses.
Yeah. So our actual senses, which everybody knows we have, to see, to smell, to touch, to taste, to hear.
Exactly.
I kind of broke down the flavour equation as being one of each, basically. So taste is taste, that's our sense of taste. But mouthfeel
is touch.
It's touch, because it's literally your first interaction with that piece of food. So this is a little bit of a tie on from the last bit, our sensory receptors. Our mouth, obviously, aside from taking in the taste, its other jobs are the weight of the food, the pressure of what's going on in your mouth to distinguish whether or not you're drinking water or oil or Coke or squash or whatever, the viscosity, things like the fizz of bubbles. Yeah. That was one that we were like, oh.
Yeah. Bit of sparkling water.
Yeah. And also pain. Pain and heat, hot and cold. So there's different receptors for each of those different things. Yeah. And our personal preferences, as the super tasters that we are.
Yes.
We are both people who are pro food with textures.
Well, there are mouthfeel categories that we all tend to fall into generally. Some go across a couple, some people fit into some categories completely. And scientists classify us by our preference for different food textures.
Okay.
The first one is chewers. People that prefer food that can be chewed for a long time. This is things like gummy bears, apples, string cheese, oatmeal cookies, or brownies.
Not
quite.
No, it's a bit of me.
Yeah. Then you've got crunchers, people that prefer food that is crunchy.
Yes.
Things like crisp apples and pears, potato chips, chocolates with nuts and celery sticks. This is where I believe I live.
This is a bit of me.
I'm talking crispy onions, baby cucumbers,
flaked crispy almonds, toasted almonds,
all of that kind of stuff. I love anything that's
crispy pastry,
broccoli with crispy bits,
all of charred edges.
Yeah, love that. Then you've got suckers, food that dissolves slowly. I don't have the patience for that type of lifestyle. I don't know nothing about that lifestyle.
That's people. What's that challenge, the round tree thing, where you can put round trees in your mouth and suck it all the way till it's gone?
Nope, can't do it. So it's things like hard candies, peppermints, and lollipops. This is not a bit of me. I'm the kind of person, when I have a hard boiled candy, Literally, it's gone in 60 seconds.
Gone.
It is gone.
But you know, I always challenge myself.
I try, and then my mind just
crunches
automatically
it.
starts to chew it. So yeah, and then the last category is smushers. People that like food that is creamy, ice cream, Greek yogurt, bananas, custard, and puddings. Again,
Disgusting.
no, that is not me. And it has to be
Disgusting.
paired. It has to be paired with something crunchy or at the very least chewy.
So say again,
Yogurt, Greek yogurt, ice cream, bananas, custard, and pudding.
See, I don't like custard, and you always pick on me for saying that I don't like
creamy
crispy sauce.
things.
I don't like creamy things, and then you'll be like, "But you like that."
Yeah.
Well, now we know.
So basically, this is an example of Harley enjoying the taste of something, but not the flavour of it, because the mouthfeel makes you uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly. Because I like the taste of custard.
Yeah.
When it's in like a little pasta di nata, as you said last week, because the custard is set, it's
Yeah.
firm and it's biteable.
So it's got texture.
And it's got pastry.
So you like the taste, but not the texture.
Yeah.
Therefore, the flavour of it is what.
The entire flavour, I don't mess with. And that's you and bananas, no?
Yes, but it's
Not
not
for
to do with the
mouthfeel
mouthfeel. An example of something to do with mouthfeel would be, I had scallops the other day. I went to a restaurant called the Grand Trunk Road in Woodford, and it's a really nice Indian restaurant. They serve scallops on a like spicy sauce, just a really well done scallop, but it had no crispy edges on it and no crispy toppings.
Nothing.
And somebody asked me how I felt about it, and I said it tasted good, but I didn't love it
Yeah.
because I felt like it needed something crispy. Another example is a Nigerian dish, abula, which is a soup of the Yoruba people from Western Nigeria. And it's typically eaten with amala, which I believe is like, in fact, I don't know. Don't worry, I don't know. It's typically, I can't remember. It's eaten with amala. And then there is gabiri, which is, bean soup, and ewedu, which is like a draw vegetable soup. And obe ata, which is stew. So it's very colourful.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's people, you see it online all the time. It's like you've got like the grey,
Red.
Almost like a lump of the swallow, and then you've got the yellow soup, then you've got the green soup, then you've got the red stew on top. And I really like the taste of it. I've had it, I enjoy the taste of it, but I can only eat so much because everything is so soft.
Right.
And I had tweeted,
stew, soup.
Yeah, I had
soft,
tweeted,
okay.
amala is very soft as well. I prefer some of the other swallows that are made from like cassava. My favourite one is eba, because it's cassava. It's got grit to it, and I like that. But I'd said that I would prefer amala if it had crispy onions on top. And my Nigerian friends nearly disowned me. But it's literally because the mouthfeel for me, it's very much in the smushers section, and there's only so much of that I can deal with.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I do understand. I'm thinking of so many things that come to mind, of things that are creamy and smushy that without the crunchiness, I can't mess with.
Yeah.
And I think this might be a differentiation between you and I.
Okay.
I have cream crackers in my cornmeal, but people have hardo bread, right?
Yeah.
Is that not just soft on soft for you?
Well, no, because the hardo bread is not that. It's not that soft.
It's got a chew. It's got a chew. Okay,
yeah, it's got a chew.
It's got something else.
So I do like chewy things, like when I have boba.
I love
tapioca, but I also like the
you like the popping one. I don't like those.
Yeah, and maybe that's like the crunch. It's like something snapping constantly in my mouth.
That's so interesting. Like this conversation is unfolding as it's happening. Like we've done a lot of research, but I'm now thinking something that is so creamy, like porridge. I like to have fruit on top, nuts on top, seeds on top, like something. Even like peanut butter is not obviously creamy of cream, but it's creamy.
Yeah.
I like
smooth or crunchy?
Crunchy.
Yeah.
Crunchy Biscoff. If that's something smooth and creamy, I need a little sham.
Okay.
Another thing for me, which can also be quite nostalgic, is coleslaw. Coleslaw to me brings everything that those receptors are looking for with whatever I'm eating. Particularly with shepherd's pie though. Yeah. Growing up, shepherd's pie to me was what you just described. It was like smush on smush. Yeah. Like mincemeat smush with mashed potato smush. Sometimes the top was not crispy enough for me. It was hell.
Granny, nanny.
Yeah, it was my grandma. Somehow the roast potatoes were crispy as hell, but the top of the shepherd's pie couldn't get crisp. Don't ask me. I don't know what's going on. There was a lot going on in the House of Commons at that time. Yeah. And the coleslaw would just take it to the next level. Yeah. Just supermarket coleslaw, but super crisp, like onions, cabbage, carrot in there. That creamy sauce, but cold as well. Like the cold on the hot food, but the hot food is smushy, but the coleslaw is crunchy. Yeah. Took it to a new level. Same with jacket potato. Obviously, you prefer jacket potato, it's crispy, but sometimes you don't get a lot of crispiness, and the middle is mashed potato essentially. Yeah. Beans. If I like mashed potato, beans, sometimes cheese, but coleslaw.
Yeah, okay.
Just brings it. Just coleslaw. Just
okay.
Coleslaw's my goat. I love coleslaw.
You guys remember what my jacket potato combo is?
Yeah, but still cold,
hot. It's the cold and hot combination.
Yeah.
And then.
But you don't have much crunch in there, do you?
I don't, but I like crunchy bits in my tuna, and that might be what it is. Yeah, like the fresh spring onions, and there's different things that you can add to your food that add crunchy elements to it. So yeah. Okay,
well that's that one. Next up in the flavor equation is sight. Feels like kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much to talk to on this one.
We eat with our eyes.
Yeah, we do. But I think we eat with our eyes, and I think on a side note, this is where when people complain about like aesthetic restaurants and that kind of thing, the overemphasis is what the problem is, because pretty food is always a good thing.
Yes.
Plating it as best as possible and, you know, having everything looking cute is always a good thing, but there's more to the eating experience and to developing flavor than just sight. Yeah.
What it looks like. And I think it's also the initial, I was watching a video the other day about dopamine release. Don't ask. Different tangent. But how like your initial spike, and if you sit down and you're having in a restaurant and you're like, oh, okay, service is great, you've got a little spike, and then you're like, oh, you get the best table, a little spike, and then it's really bright, little spike, the music's great, little spike. So now you're so much higher before your food ever comes. And when your food comes and it looks amazing, another spike, and then if you put it in your mouth and it doesn't match the experience, literally the experience that you're having. And they were giving a different example, but how I translated it, to the ground. And I think that's when people go on Twitter and they're like, it was rubbish, it was crap. When really it was like, what they kind of want to say is how it looked did not reflect how it tasted, or how it looked set me up for a depth of flavor and creativity that wasn't there.
The disappointment was just too much
disappointment was just too much to bear. So I think that's come up a couple times. I think in our fruit episode we discussed dragon fruit.
The disappointment of the dragon fruit.
And how pretty dragon fruit is, but yet tastes of nothing.
Well, first of all, we've been eating the ones that probably aren't the right ones.
Yeah, we did say that.
But even still, those purple ones, for the way, as pretty as you look, you should taste better than that. And I think it's that disappointment. But then again, it's not hitting hardly any of the boxes, other than crunch.
Yeah, it's quite soft. There are times though when sight does enhance your experiences.
Yeah.
One of your faves?
Golden yolk egg. Yeah, so the thing is, again, understanding this whole flavour thing, they do taste better. There is more richness, probably.
Yeah.
And I think it comes through in the yolk. The yolk is richer. Just even the white.
The Oleogustus.
Yeah, even the white, it just has more flavour. When you add salt to it, it's enhancing more. It's working off a better base. But I just love the look of the golden yolk. It gets me going every single time, especially when I'm in a restaurant and I cut it. I'm like, okay, I respect these lot. To me, it screams quality.
Yeah, because you're also disrespectful towards any other egg. Like if I share my egg to you and you're like, that egg ain't golden, or you'll see egg pops at restaurants and I'll be like, should we go for brunch here? That egg ain't golden.
Yeah, because what are you giving me? Like the most caged barn egg ever? Nope, sorry. It probably is psychological, but golden yolk, the look of it, it just screams quality, but then also it tastes good as well.
It does taste good.
Yeah.
So it adds to the flavour equation in two ways, with how it looks and how it tastes.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Next on our flavour equation profile is the sound.
Yeah, and in the book, it actually says radio and television producers, food scientists and product designers all devote large amounts of time and money to understand how sounds can be used to make their food products alluring to us. And I don't think a lot of us really realise that or understand how much goes into the sound of the food, like the crunch that we experience in our mouths. How do we perceive that through our hearing? And
I guess with what you've just said, sound and movie producers, like sound design is so important in films anyway. Foley, added sound effects and stuff, but especially we've spoken a lot about food media that we like, and when you watch things like Chef's Table and the camera is in the fire, I want to hear the crackles. Like even Barbecue Showdown, when I was watching that and they were running through sand, digging in the trench, like every sound contributes to the overall thing of me feeling like I was in what they made.
Immersive.
It's so immersive.
Yeah.
Are there sounds in your food you don't want to hear? Like for me, not being a smusher, I don't like squelches.
I don't think there's any sounds that I don't like to hear. There's sounds that I want to hear. I like to hear
crunches.
I like to hear it in my ears.
Really?
When I'm eating, I like to hear crunch, especially because one of the things it mentioned is that outside of like what we see. Sound also indicates quality. So
And freshness.
yeah, like the crunch indicates the freshness for me, specifically when I'm eating things that I believe should be crunchy, like my baby cucumbers. There should be
Broccoli.
some kind of crunch. Even like when you're having a crusty bread,
Yeah,
why can I not hear the crunch of the crust? People love to do that with
Is
like
it gluten-free?
sourdough. Crunchy bread. People like to do that with like sourdough and breadsticks and like a good French bread. You tap it on the side, all of that kind of stuff. You want to hear it too, so that your brain believes that this is what I'm looking for.
I think sound is also a very important part. I know we just referred to it in TV, but of the cooking process.
Yeah.
Like you can tell something's doneness, even something as simple as rice.
Yeah.
Like when you don't hear the water bubbling
or
anymore.
it's not squelchy.
Or it's not squelchy,
Yeah.
or the hiss, or the sizzle. Loads of recipe books will go to guide you through the cooking process by the form of like sounds.
Yeah.
So when the bubbles sound thick and heavy, it's time to turn it off.
Yeah.
Like it's time to turn it off. That's simmered down enough, and little things like that. In our episode of the Ultimate Restaurant Experience, back in season 2, we discuss every element of what makes a good meal we discuss every element of what makes a good restaurant experience a good restaurant experience. One thing that grinds my gears sometimes is when I'm in a restaurant and I can't hear
the DJ is going off.
the music is insane.
Yeah.
And I think I just don't like it.
I like to I can't tell you exactly what I want to hear in each restaurant because it depends on the overall vibe. There was something that they mentioned here about sounds can also affect the perception of flavour. Some restaurants might play a curated list of music to enhance the dinner experience. That's where I want to be.
Right.
I don't want the restaurant that's playing the music purely for the amusement of the staff. Just because. And to be honest, they are still trying to create a vibe. I just don't think it's my vibe. A lot of these restaurants are trying to create like a very paparazzi type, Hollywood, Ibiza kind of celebs type of feel. Not really my vibe. It's all aesthetic and it's meant to be more of like a place to chill that serves food. Yeah. As a food forward person, the food everything needs to be curated around the food experience for me. So the Fat Duck, run by Chef Heston Blumenthal in the UK. If you go to his restaurant, you will listen to the sounds of breaking ocean waves while eating the sound of the sea. A dish made with seaweed and seafood. By evoking our association of seafood and breaking surf, the pairing is meant to positively enhance the dining experience. That to me sounds fantastic.
Yeah, like a sound pairing, a sound bath.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've not been, but there's a place called Dan Le Noir, which is dining in the dark. And I haven't been. One of my friends went. I'm hesitant about stuff like that because I don't think I like that.
Okay.
I think for the full flavour, if I can't see it, then something's missing here.
It's capped.
Something's capped here. But it's immersive in that way. Yeah. Like you're asked questions, you're spoken to, the way it speaks to you, they bring your food, you can like interact with your food in a way that is about sound. Like you're putting your fork in it, can you cut through? Like what is it, kind of thing. None of that's for me. I'm not about any of that.
It sounds interesting. I still think we should check it out just to see.
That 100%.
What does that do for your overall? Does it heighten the other ones or does it just limit you?
No, it's horrible.
Completely.
I've
decided
it's horrible.
You've never been.
I've decided it's horrible.
Oh my God.
Nando's music.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want
Nando's music.
You want the sounds of the cuisine, the nationality at least to be playing.
Exactly. If I'm in my ideal Jamaican or Caribbean restaurant, I don't want to hear R&B. Can't lie to you. I need to hear Bob. I want the roots reggae.
Right.
I need some Garnet Silk. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that kind of the music that I grew up listening to on a Sunday for Sunday dinner. I want to hear that crooning in the background. Not too loud, but just enough that I'm getting the skenge. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's what
I understand. I do understand you. However,
okay.
Some places are just general. And then you hear a bit of everything. What I don't
that's like world cuisine to me, like just general
Yeah,
food.
but what I don't like is what you've just said, the first thing you said. There's a restaurant that I actually really do like the food called Melon.
Where's that?
It's like a sheesh-esque. It's in
I
Chihuahua.
thought this was like a Jamaican restaurant.
No! It's like Mediterranean Turkish
Melon.
food.
Yeah.
And then halfway through your night, every night, bloody calypso dancers come out in robot, guys in robot heads, men on stilts.
I don't like that stuff. I don't like
But
that
the
in the
music,
restaurant.
it goes from like, hey, so what you doing? How's your evening? Whatever, to, all right, I'll talk to you again in half an hour.
Yeah.
The show is finished.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's just, they don't like, I think those kind of curated experiences can be so nice. If you go, you eat, there's a performance, a live interaction, a whatever, and then it carries on.
Yeah.
But they don't set it up like that. So throughout the evening, people are arriving, eating. So some people are trying to get their starters in between the man on the stills.
Okay. That sounds like you're taking up too much space. When I went to the Main in Mayfair, they've got like a jazz. I think jazz is the kind of music anyway.
Dinner music.
Yeah, it's highly
That's
instrumental,
and
even the way they sing, the tone to which they sing, it's very. Do you know what I mean?
When we were in Florida for Thanksgiving, one of my uncles, and like my family are in America, but these are Jamaicans in America. We were having Thanksgiving dinner, and one of my like older uncles was just sitting there, just like vibing, and he said, "This is real dinner music."
What, to the jazz? Because I think it is.
We just had on like, I think my cousin had just put on literally like a jazz playlist.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there and he was saying, I was having a conversation with someone the other day about dinner. This is dinner music. And we were all like cracking up because we were like, Uncle Junior, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like in his car, hearing that music, but he was like, yes. Like, he was like, this is dinner. Like, it was, you had to have been there, but you're right. Jazz as dinner music is
so
the
the Main in Mayfair, they have a live performance. It will be like a cabaret kind of dance artist, but it's on a stage. I didn't see her coming to the crowd because I'm not here for that, but it was nice. It added to my overall experience, and it was like a show, something to watch. But I think when it's, I think it depends, because some people love that whole carnival type feel, like coming into the meal. If I know that's what I'm going to see, I'm okay. But if I've just gone out for a meal
to eat,
I can find it a bit distracting. And I don't like it.
They have that, what you're talking about in the Ned as well. They've got like a core entertainment section, which is nice. It can get very loud in there, but it's nice.
Yeah.
2 more elements of our flavor equation. The next one being emotion.
Yeah, emotion.
This one we're not going to go into too much of a deep dive on, because our connections with emotional food and stuff we've done a whole episode on, which is Eat Your Feelings. But the basic bare bones of it are that aroma is the strongest sense when it comes to memory. And aroma, just to put these two together, is the last element of the flavor equation. So how food smells, what you smell as a whole when you are experiencing food. Smelling the things that match. I find that really confusing. That really does my head in.
What do you mean, smelling the things that match?
Like if I'm smelling lemons and you're serving me like.
Okay. Do
you know what I mean? It's like that leading me on thing. You're giving me dopamine kick. Why can I smell buttery biscuits and you're serving me oatmeal?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But it leads you on. You walk into a restaurant, it smells amazing. You're expecting that food. Same way you walk into any place and you get a smell and it sets you up for something. But I think from the research, that it's the strongest sense to memory. How do you feel about the smell of food? Do you have memories that are tied specifically to smells? Can you smell something and be taken to a meal?
Yeah, I do. I think even when we were reading through this, it was talking about, especially in your developmental years, as you are tasting and experiencing things, your body is still having reactions to it. So as you taste and experience something, your brain has a perception of it, and it basically files away a memory, be it good or bad. And so when I think about,
have you seen Inside Out? The Disney film
ages ago,
and they put the memories.
Yeah, that's basically what your brain is doing. You taste something, especially as like babies and children. You taste something, and if you have a bad experience of it, sometimes your eating experience is locked into that memory. So it's not necessarily that something tastes bad on the tongue, but it's associated with a bad memory. Therefore, the flavor experience is negative. Case in point, bananas with me. I know I've spoken about it at length, but ultimately, through doing the research, I realized that the taste of the banana is not the issue for me, because I can have bananas in my banana fritter pancakes or in the smoothie that I love, etc. In fact, sometimes things without bananas doesn't taste right to me. But it's the flavor experience that I don't like, because the memory that my mum embedded in my head was that if I have bananas in the middle of the day, my breath is gonna smell. So I have a bad perception of the smell of raw bananas, and I just have a bad memory. I just don't like them because I just think they stink ultimately. So if I can't smell it, it's not too strong, it's not a raw banana, I'm okay. That is that kind of example where memory plays into your favorite flavor experience. And then I was thinking about like a positive story, and my favorite meal is ackee and saltfish, fresh ackee and saltfish with breadfruit that has been roasted and then fried, and fresh avocado pear from Jamaica. And when I was 16, me and my whole family went to Jamaica for some family business. Basically, I was there for more or less the whole summer. We were all there. It was the best summer ever. I had such an amazing experience. But nearly every single day, that's what we had for breakfast. It was like breadfruit season. It was all sorts going on. And that quickly became my favourite meal. It's my favourite meal ever, but I think it's connected to the memory of having such a beautiful experience whilst eating that food. And it's not the best thing I've ever tasted probably on my tongue, because I grew up not eating ackee, if I'm being honest. But that meal, exactly like that, the flavour experience that it gives me, it takes me back to Jamaica. It takes me back to that time. It just feels so warm and loving. I love it.
I have the same thing with a lot of Jamaican food as well, that I don't even bother try to seek out here. Like, ask me for the best Jamaican whatever. I just don't even bother, because I think a lot of that is not even necessarily linked to the smell of the food. But say, for example, like Jamaican food tastes better and the flavour is better when you are in Jamaica surrounded by the smell of mahogany wood. Yeah. That smell.
Or green.
Like the richness. Yeah. And it just, any I guess it's not like unique to Jamaicans. Like a lot of Caribbean households are full of mahogany furniture. God. You can still walk into a living room now and it still have that smell of, this really smells like home. Yeah. That to me is a smell of like grandparents. Yeah. Specifically for me, that is the smell of grandparents. Yeah. If I walk in your house and I smell that and your grandma's cooking anything, I'm gonna, that's hitting. Yeah. Like whatever that, this woman here is a grandmother. This is the smell of grandmother. Yeah. So whatever it is, it's probably gonna bang. I probably have so many. I'm someone that has a really good memory. I have memories of absolutely everything, and I could have to categorize my memories and decide which ones I remember because of how they smell. When I interact with something, I can be so clear about why I remember it. Yeah. Like I could tell you what you were wearing on a certain day if it meant something to me or whatever. But to differentiate the ones that are specifically around food, other than like foods that my parents or grandparents cooked for specific reasons, I don't know. Even little things like the smell of McDonald's, like obviously you've eaten it a lot, or I've eaten it a lot. Yeah. But sometimes you're gonna walk in McDonald's and it's gonna take you to a place. Yeah. You know, like a different McDonald's or whatever. Yeah. You walk in McDonald's and you're like, I'm standing there waiting for your order. The smell is making you think, that birthday party when I was like 5. Yeah. East Town McDonald's. Like, I remember that. My negative one. Oh, sorry. Actually, I have to take this time to offer a retraction statement. Okay. My mum swears blind up and down that she was not microwaving eggs. Wow. One of the episodes towards the end of season 2.
When you threw mummy under
apparently I accused her of microwaving scrambled eggs in my youth. Yeah. She listened to that episode and my WhatsApp was full of threats. Yeah. I had to call in my dad for reinforcements. I said, Dad, isn't it mum needs to do this, whatever. He said, I'm not involved. Yeah. I don't know what you guys were doing eating eggs. I don't even eat eggs. Okay. So I'll offer this retraction statement. However, the reason I don't eat boiled and scrambled eggs is because that smell of microwaved eggs is in my psyche.
But was it mummy? It was somebody.
It was somebody. It was somebody. Yeah. Okay? And as we're saying now, memories, it's a very important part of your flavour. Yeah. There's no way that I'm just not eating scrambled eggs my whole life because of nothing. Yeah, yeah. It's in there. Fair enough. And maybe the smell is doing the opposite to her and it's making it come out of her brain. Maybe she's associated the smell with something different so she can't remember. Yeah. But interesting. Okay, mummy? Yeah. Hope you're happy.
Do you know what? As you were talking about like McDonald's, it was making me think about restaurant recommendations, which we said we're going to talk about in a whole different episode. But I think that's why it's really important to be able to discern who you are and like your food experience and what you like and what you don't like, because sometimes when people recommend things, it's not because the taste of the food is good. It's because they have had a positive experience there that goes beyond the taste of the food. And that's why they love that establishment. And anything that comes out of it, they're going to love it because every time they go there, they have a good time, etc. And so I think about some of the places that I've been to that I know that someone's been there and probably didn't love it as much as they did, but they didn't go with my girls. They didn't go when I went. Do you know what I mean? They didn't go when we were like all over the place, having a good time, etc. Maybe even drunk, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And so the nostalgia of this establishment is what keeps me coming back. There's a specific dish that I get every single time.
You've got a feeling.
And it hits the spot and it is reaffirming that positive experience for me every single time. And that's why I love it. That's why I would suggest people go there. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you will have the same experience.
It's going to translate.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I think just for the last point on this kind of thing was standardization.
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Yeah, I think you found this in a piece of research whereby that's why brands like McDonald's build in standardization so that every time you smell a certain thing, you are guaranteed to expect a certain flavor, a certain this, a certain that, la la la.
Yeah, and so that when we're experiencing certain emotions, in order to satisfy that emotion or even to escape that emotion, we will seek out certain foods because that memory is connected to this experience. So when people are drunk or when they're out on a late night or when they're out with friends, they will go to McDonald's because their memory kind of pushes them in that direction that, and the consistency of what McDonald's is. I'm out with friends right now. We eat at McDonald's at 1 o'clock in the morning. That is what we do. And I get a double cheeseburger, whatever it is. So Bagel King. Well, Doner kebab, all of those things. It's not that they have the best taste in the world. It's the flavour experience that we're having. So 100%. It's really important when we think about just like scaling black foods and black cuisine specifically within the UK. Standardization is not just, it doesn't have to be seen as like a chokehold. No. It can be really seen as like a tool to scale. It can really be seen as a tool to connect with others, but through that standardization, that if somebody comes to you and has a good experience, repeat business. If the curry goat, the viscosity of the gravy is one thing on one day and one thing on another day, and this is the issue that I have with one of my establishments, that I can't guarantee I'm going to be satisfied in the same way every single time. So sometimes when I do not have time for the disappointment, I just don't eat there. Skip it. Yeah, I just don't eat there. And that's a lost sale from a business perspective. It's a lost sale. For a small business. Yeah. The last one, which we kind of like tipped in and out a little bit, and if you've made it this far in the episode, now we can give you the spoiler, which is that episode 3 of this mini-series is going to be with somebody who has no sense of smell and how that affects the flavor equation for her and generally her experience of eating. So a couple of things that we will kind of touch on, just top line, are people say that seafood tastes better at the seaside. Yeah, because they can, the smell of the seawater and I guess the sound. I think that's a good example of how to tie up everything. Your closeness to potentially like the actual boats if you're on a marina or this, that and the other. There is a lot more to this and we've done some research on that, but we're gonna make you wait for that. Yeah. And we're gonna put that in episode 3 of this mini-series. Yeah. So do come back and join us for that. Anything else you want to say about the flavour equation, or? No, just to recap. Yeah. Flavour is made up by multiple components. Emotion, sight, sound, mouthfeel, aroma, and taste. That is what makes up flavour. So just because something tastes good doesn't necessarily mean that you are having a good flavour experience, or the flavour of it overall is a positive one. And just think about that. Think about some things like between now and next week. Yeah, next episode. That you enjoy the taste of it. You don't think it tastes bad, but you don't love it, or you wouldn't necessarily go out and eat it because there's something about it that you just don't like. And it could be the smell of it. It could be the sight of it. It could be just a bad memory connected to it, or something that you love. Why do you love it? Is it more than just how it tastes on your tongue? Is it the memory? Is it whatever else? And just have a think about that, because I've had some like revelations this last week. To be honest. And we didn't have any new countries joining us today, but we are being listened to in 75 countries. So how's your experience around the world with this kind of stuff? We'll have some polls up on our Instagram throughout the week, because this was such an eye-opener to us. Yeah. We want to connect with you guys some more. Let us know how you've experienced these things. If there are like things that we didn't discuss about this, if you like the style of episode, the kind of deep dive, and we'll catch you in part 2. Bye guys.